Is this thing on? Oh boy, I really have to come up with a better intro. Alrighty, well, this one is going to be about a style of music that is basically almost not dead, but is going extinct. And it is, that's right, good old grunge music. Grunge rock, whatever you want to say. Now, basically, there are a handful of bands that did do this type of music. Not that many of them did make it that big, to be honest. It wasn't, I mean, it's definitely its own style of music. Definitely, definitely. Now, anybody that doesn't know about grunge, it's basically, the origins are pretty much in the Northwest, like Seattle and neighboring cities and stuff around there. So, it is, obviously, I do have to give credit where credit is due. The band that did make grunge, mainstream basically, was Nirvana. Obviously the song off of the album Nevermind, Smells Like Teen Spirit, and the songs that came on after that, the hits they had after that were very instrumental in making grunge, noticeable to the masses, basically. So, and there's obviously other bands. Alice in Chains is one of them, which I think they're one of the best rock bands ever, just in general, not just for grunge, but I do think they're better than Nirvana. You got Soundgarden, and I mean they are grunge, but I sometimes think some of their riffs kind of sound, metal-esque, if you want to say it that way. They kind of sound like metal, I think. Like there's this one song called 4th of July off of Super Unknown, I think. Yeah, it's a Super Unknown album. And it's really, really slow, but I guess you could still put, because grunge, a lot of grunge is slow, but you could throw them in there with, I don't know, I guess you could maybe put them in metal, but yeah, it's still grunge. It's grunge, because they're good. They actually they did a lot of things that not many bands, like they took a lot of risks with some of the stuff that they wrote. Absolutely. Just one song, Power Trip. They did just the pre-chorus or bridge, however you want to say it, in between, leading into the way the chord. It's just so well written. A lot of people wouldn't really think it makes sense, but I definitely get what they were trying to do, and I appreciate any band or artist trying to go outside of the norm and trying to challenge themselves like that, or just challenge music in general and just try to, basically expand and do something like that. It was cool. So you should check that song out. You got Stone Temple Pilots, which, I mean, they're a little lighter to the sense of not being as, like, eerie or dark as you would think grunge would be. But, they're still thrown in there. I like to say they have grunge tendencies. So people just look at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? Tendencies now? But yeah, I mean, who the fuck knows? I would put them in there. As they have some, like, they're grunge. Now there's other ones. There's a band called Mudhoney. There's a band called Tad. Who else? Oh man, there's all kind of like other bands. They're just so like they didn't really go anywhere with it. Like I remember I put a song on, I let my friend listen to this one song from Tad. I was like, have you ever heard of this band? He's like, I'd never heard of them. And they played, grunge. It really wasn't anything, like the actual style was still grunge. It's just that they were just so underground. I guess every style of music kind of has that, but I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, Nirvana definitely mainstreamed grunge and gave it its notoriety, but just something, I don't know, I guess it just didn't catch on to the masses, at least not for a long while, to the point of these bands I mean, they still make music and everything like that. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, we all know what happened with Nirvana, but I don't know. I mean, just the whole scene, I guess, really didn't catch on as being its own scene in a way of like, okay, whatever. They're still grunge bands now, but it's not really a scene like it was. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I could argue with anybody about this forever. I think Alice in Chains is one of the best rock bands that has ever, graced us with, graced our ears with music, and not just in the sense of being grunge and all that kind of shit. They are just one of the best rock bands ever. They're amazing. They obviously had their issues with what happened with one of their members, but that being a separate thing to talk about. Their music is unbelievable. I mean, it really is. I think they do grunge music better than any other band, and just they make great music. They make great rock music. It doesn't not just grunge. You know what I'm saying? They're a great band, and the actual lyrical content and everything like that is a little it's a lot of it's not positive, but the way they go about making the music is unbelievable. You know what I mean? So just in that aspect, they're just amazing. And anybody that has never listened to them, I advise you to go check them out. I mean, even if it's just one of their albums, you will if you listen to one of their albums, through the whole thing, you would listen to basically almost all their songs. I can almost guarantee you that. And I don't know. But, I mean, just in general, I don't really think people want to gravitate toward that kind of music anymore. I think they're just more into the faster stuff. Like Nirvana, they had a lot of slow songs too, but some of their stuff was like mid-tempo to fast-ish, but it was still sounded so like, I mean, they're like almost like garage punk in a way, and like the sense of it just being so grimy that it didn't have to be that slow for it to still be like grunge, I guess, if that makes any sense. But it's just, I don't know, I don't really see people gravitating towards all of those bands that much. At least not really anymore. A lot of the bands don't really, or not really as active, if they're even active at all anymore, to be honest. I don't know, I guess it's just one of those, I don't want to call it a fad, because I still think that the music is good. It's just, I guess it's just one of those passing things. It just happened in the late 80s, into the early 90s and everything like that. I don't know, man. I don't know. I do like to sit back and talk about it, though, because I think that it is worth discussing as far as the history of rock and everything like that. Because, it's still relatively new-ish. It ain't like it's like 60s or 70s. I mean, it is still, granted, it is still like almost 30 years old. Grunge basically was still embryo, and it actually did come out and form and everything like that, but it I don't know, I guess people just don't really find an interest in it, really. I don't really know what the main thing was. I mean, maybe by what happened to Kurt Cobain kind of turned people off to the whole, I don't want to listen to complaint rock in a shitty context, and I try to say that in the nicest way, because I understand and appreciate the way people that do grunge music go about making music, because I know I could just I get it, you know what I mean? It's just that I guess maybe everybody doesn't always want to basically be that depressed, to be honest. It's very depressing music. A lot of it really is. It's like darker and grimy, and it's like shitty sometimes. I don't know. I like it. Don't get me wrong, but it's like it's got not. I don't know. It doesn't have like a. It's got a different vibe going on. Let's just say that. But yeah, it's really depressing. Let's just leave it at that. But anyway, I hope this sheds some light on just basically grunge music in general, and I don't know. hope everybody appreciates, all the older bands and, people that looked into them. And, maybe they'll look into them after they see some of these kinds of videos. I don't fucking know. I love talking about music, so that's what I'm going to do. Alrighty, well, I'm going to get the fuck out of here, and I will see you when I see you.